Hey Luke, this is just my demonstration of an example of how to use Illustrator. I'm actually recording this audio afterwards on my roommate's computer because she has a laptop and mine just the Mac Mini. So I dragged the fuzzicle, I found it on the interwebs, this fuzzicle character, and getting ahead of myself here. Uh, just showing the way how vectors work. So there's these paths, and they basically fill in everything that's in between these determined points, and you change the paths by dragging the arms of the points. So mostly use the pen tool, so that creates a new point. But also you'll see later, I just use a keystroke of Shift C to go to the convert point tool, which allows you to adjust the arms in a different kind of way. When you first here, I think I'm about to convert. So just locking that layer, so or the wrong layer right there, so I don't have to accidentally click it and mess with it. So now, see, now I just convert that arrow is the point thing is a convert point. So where the pen tool creates a new point, this one usually are good for affecting the arms, because when you change the arms with a direct selection, which is the regular arrow, the arms will stay, you could say, like connected. So like that, like initially they stay so they're rounded, and that's to make a rounded edge. And then to make a pointed edge, you just change one of the points, and then it's a pointed edge. So there are times where you want to preserve the rounded edge. And as you can see, I'm just tracing this guy, and it becomes pretty fast. I got practice at this from doing like I had to take a picture of his mural and then trace it like this, and I never knew how to do this, so I just kind of did it by myself, just monotonously. And you learn just kind of like how far you need to pull things, and you get a lot faster at it. But it's just good to just show how this functioning. It's great because they're mathematical paths, so they're infinitely resolution. So turning off our layer we traced over, now putting an outline stroke on it. And we could fill in with our color, our green, famous green. As you can see, it looks quite similar, not exactly, to the shape of the outer fuzzicle. And it's great because the paths are perfect curves in a way. I mean, the curves that you're creating, but they preserve like an angle that is you can't create with like a pen stroke, you could say. It's just going to recreate the eyes here using the circle to make a circle tool and adjusting the size. And I turned off the other layer so it wouldn't be in the way. And that's great also. Well, I mean, both Photoshop and Illustrator is turning on and off layers of your artwork, and the layers is how they'll view from what you can arrange it on the right. Just using the pen tool again, but just to make a single line, and that line you can use a stroke. So there's fill and there's stroke. And on the left, you can see, well, they're both in no fill right now, but the fill is what inside the shape color will be filled like, and the stroke is what the lines of the path will be colored. So there's a cool spiral tool, allows you to make really versatile, and you can hold Alt to change the. I'm not sure what kind of property that is, but it shifts the spiral. It's just not exactly the same, but just do whatever. Moving that guy. So these paths are up here, but they're not filled with anything. So I'm going to fill them in just a second. So it's cool because the fuzzicle is very naturally kind of a vector object. I mean, I did make them in a vector, so killing that off. So now we're going to select all these shapes we just made and make the stroke, or that's the fill, now it's the stroke. The stroke is black. So just increasing the stroke a little bit, make it more definable. We'll make the circles, the fill, white, so when they're on top of the fuzzicle, you can see them as white eyeballs instead of they'd be see-through. Just thicken that a little bit. So these are stroke options. You can see the fuzzicle guy. There's still some more things we could probably adjust to make him a lot cooler, a lot better. Even out those lines. As you can see, it retains resolution no matter how far you zoom, and you can blow this up a million times. So this is a gradient right here. This allows you to have a gradation between multiple colors. I'm trying to find the gradient window. I guess it is already out. It's down here. So you just kind of drag colors onto the gradient. I want to say like bar. It already has black and white as a default. I accidentally cut up my green right there. So you can do multiple colors, and this is a way that you can make shading. Just a methodology. I actually did use it on this fuzzicle before. You can change the angle from so it's a linear gradient. So you can also make a radial one. Those are just different. So this is the extent of the versatility of adjustment in pretty much in Illustrator. You can do a lot more in Photoshop. We're just showing you how the difference with Illustrator, because it's really interesting to think in this kind of dimension rather than creating paths to fill. As you can see, I can zoom in. So I'm going to try to create this kind of like shading sort of thing on the bottom tendrils, locking that layer so I don't mess it up. Because in the pen tool, if you click a point, even if you're making a new shape, it'll kill the point. It's just an option of the versatility of the pen tool. So it's hard to see what I'm doing what it's going to become right now. So that's usually when you make your initial points, you're just pointing what you know where you need to adjust. So I'm making a little shading on the bottom. So what's cool is you can intercept the shapes. So I don't have to worry about retracing the outline of the fuzzicle, because I can just copy the fuzzicle guy instantly and do a Pathfinder. And I'll show you that in a second. Trying to get this one right. See, there's sometimes a lot of tweaking you have to do with the arms to get them just right, because the curves, they're perfect basically. They follow exactly what you tell them to, and they're always moldable. You can stretch this thing anywhere, and it'll retain its resolution infinitely. So now I'm going to copy the fuzzicle shape, just drag into new layer, so that makes a copy of it, and then getting this layer, I'm dragging down that new thing I just made, that shading thing. So clicking both of them, we can go over to the Pathfinders Tool, and doesn't look like that's quite the right one, but it basically intercepts the shape in different ways. These different buttons, I'm going to undo that, and I guess this one's the right one. There we go. Now I got a path of my shading. So turn to black. I guess the layer is underneath the fuzzicle guy. Let's try to find that. I realized this afterwards. So there's the shading. It's cool because it's just the intercepted shapes, the difference between the shapes. So we're just going to lower the opacity a little bit to make it look like shading. Maybe lower it a little bit more. And it kind of looks shady. It doesn't look that great, but it's just an example of what the Pathfinder differencing is great. And here I like to make little like highlight bubbles. I just use the eyedropper. That's a way to extract a color from something you already have. So it's a quick way to get a color. And lower the opacity so it looks kind of like, gives a little blob of this. It's not that awesome looking, but definitely it just shows you the capability. Yeah, you should download that soon, and then we can make some awesome stuff, man. Mr. Bungle, all the way, full cheesy. Also, one of the things I was making for the ship game. No, never. Never update. Never. Well, I'll see you soon, Lucas. Hopefully soonish.